Hey friends, hello, happy Thursday. Hello friends, welcome to Craft Your Joy Live. I'm Lisa Hetrick, and today I came in live at a different time. I thought I would try some afternoons. Some of our friends on the West Coast have often requested an afternoon slot, so I thought I'd give it a try today. Anyway, friends, hello, welcome. I see people popping in. We'll see what happens today, but I have a really fun today. We are diving in. I'm already geeking out, and I haven't even said the words yet. We are diving in to the Craft Your Joy Lab, and we're going to do another color mixing video. We're going to talk about Plummy violets. I see everybody popping in. Kathy, Kathleen, Rhonda. Yay! No worries. If you can pop in, great. If you have to leave, no worries. We always have the replay. Now, not last week, but the week before, on my live, we did a peachy tutorial with peach colors, and on that live it was recommended to do a similar tutorial but do it in plummy colors because we are focusing on my newest stamp set with Gina K Designs called Sweeter With You, and it's a little peach set, but it's pretty universal and we can do lots of different things with it by changing the colors. So hello Mary just popped in. Okay, I have a lot on my desk, on my surface here. We are totally jumping into the Craft Your Joy Live lab. We are getting geeky today, so bear with me. I'm going to be going through watercolor and Gina K inks and talking about color mixing and watercolor violets and plum colors. And then we're going to paint a little. We're going to make a card. And we're just going to have some fun. So super fun. All right, let's go ahead to the down camera. And we'll pop my face on. Let's see if we can pop my face on. Yeah, ooh, there. Ooh. There I am. Okay, friends. So just a little recap. Last week I wasn't live. I actually had another show that I was on. So, if you're on my email list, I shared that. But our live tutorial was all about the peachy colors. And I walked through some of my favorite peach colors in watercolor brands. And I also went through, I don't know where I put it, but I also went through some of the peach colors in the Gina K ink line, and we kind of walked through everything. Now, a couple weeks ago, we also did this similar format, and we did turquoises, and we did a card in the turquoise colors. So this has kind of been a theme this year, and also something that many of you viewers have asked me to cover in our tutorials. Different brands of watercolors, how they're different, and give you a little more exposure to different colors. So that's what I've kind of been doing. Hello, Elizabeth. Elizabeth just popped in. Okay, now we worked on this 2 weeks ago. Today we are going to use this card that I created with Sweeter With You as our inspiration. And we're going to kind of rebuild this card a little bit. We're going to do the plummy look and feel for it. So that's our inspiration. Let's just kind of dive in. Here's my new stamp set with Gina K called Sweeter With You. And as I shared when it launched 2 weeks ago, this set I wasn't so sure about when I created it, but then I got to play with it and I got to share it with you, and it's starting to become like a favorite of mine. And here's why. Because I provided all of these big open line kind of images that are similar in shape to other fruits. Now, I was focused kind of on peaches and summer peaches. We also have this pattern going. We've got leafery and greenery and some really beautiful blooms. And these are peach blooms, but if you look at them, they could be apple blooms. They could be all kinds of different kinds of fruit blooms. Now, we're going to focus on this little peach butt today, just like we did in the last tutorial, and we're going to create a plum. And I'm going to talk about purples and violets and plummy colors. So we're jumping in and we're going into the lab, friends. We're going into the lab. All right, first, it's hard to I'm getting so excited. It's hard to know where to begin sometimes. So I've got a lot of different watercolor brands here, and I'm going to talk about them. And I also have my Gina K inks that I want to talk about because it's important to me when we dive into the color lab. I like to talk about not only watercolor brands, but also for our paper crafting projects, how you can translate that over into the Gina K inks that you probably already have in your stash. So let's walk through the Gina K inks that I love for creating these violets and plummy kinds of looks and feels. So we have Eggplant, which this is Eggplant right here. We have Eggplant, we have Plum Punch. Here's Plum Punch right here. Love that color. You can see these two colors have more of those undertones of plum, Eggplant especially. And I'm going to show you, it's kind of peeking out right here. Let's move that out of the way. I'm going to show you that next. That comparison using those colors. Lovely Lavender is a nice lavender color that I would use in my projects if I'm going to build up and build on top of it to get to that plum level of colors. Dark lilac and medium lilac. I would say that those colors skew closer to the violet side, and we could mix with them. We could add a little bit of Eggplant, a little bit of Plum Punch into those two in order to get more of a plummy, bluey kind of look and feel. And that's the interesting thing about plums. And I should have shared, I was looking at different plums and I meant to go to the grocery store and kind of grab them. They have rich color values inside of them. They have dark hues of Eggplant, almost black. They have pinks in them. They have blue tones in them. So you really can't go wrong with any of these Gina K colors to kind of build up that look and feel. And we're going to do it. We're going to practice that. Now let's talk about, I can just feel myself geeking out, friends. Let's talk about some of, what we're going to do is talk about some of the purples and violets. It's coming a little tighter here. Purples and violets in some watercolor brands. And I only pulled a handful, and I'm going to talk a little bit about violets across brands. Then I'm going to show you how we can do some mixing purples with two colors and how to achieve that more plummy look by mixing our own colors up. Because there's lots of different colors. There's lots of different purples out there. Now, the number one purple name that you will see across all brands is called dioxazine purple. So I've got three different versions here to show you because they all have different binders in them. And the binder is what's used in watercolor to suspend the pigment, to bring it together, suspend the pigment so that, and you have different, when you're painting with it, you have different releases of that pigment. And I've kind of gone over that a little bit in different videos, so I'm going to touch on it a little bit more today. So we'll start with these dioxazines. I have 3 dioxazines right here, and I picked these 3 because they have different binders. So here's one from White Nights, here's Sennelier, and here's Core Watercolor. Okay, now you're going to also find dioxazine purple in Winsor Newton. So here they call it Winsor Violet in their brand, but really the pigment is dioxazine purple. Here it is in the Core brand. It's right here. Or nope, right there in the Core brand. We're going to use these in a little bit. But the reason why I wanted to share these, because all of them are the same, even though they're the same pigment, you can see they're slightly different. And they are a violet, but they can be really dark and intense when they're at full strength, 100% whole milk strength with their value. Not a lot of water, a whole lot of pigment. So you can see that it's pretty dark, but all three of these dioxazine purples look a little bit different. White Nights, but you can see PV23, PV23, and PV23 is the pigment. Oh, we're totally geeking out here, friends. Totally geeking out. Now, White Nights, this is a traditional paint. This is in Gum Arabic. That's the binder. Dioxazine purple in the core. Core has its own binder called Aquazol, and I've done a couple core videos over the last few weeks. The Aquazol is a proprietary binder to them, to Golden Paints, and I call it the whooshy binder. It's what makes core watercolors so special and whooshy and vibrant. So that's what they use to suspend their pigments in. So that one looks a little bit different. And then we have Sennelier. Sennelier paints they're French paints. I love them, but I only use them for really one particular style of painting that I do, and that's botanicals, florals. And the reason why is that this particular brand uses honey. So its binder is honey, and it's super, super juicy. It's a beautiful, beautiful color, but it really shines when you're layering up colors and you're glazing. So you're adding layers and layers and layers of color on top of each other, and it just gets more and more luminous over time. And that's the thing I've noticed about this particular brand. But when you're looking at their dioxazine purple, that's what they do. Now, Daniel Smith has a dioxazine purple. White Nights has a dioxazine purple. I could have brought them all out. And this is they're really nice purples across any brand. And you're going to find them on palettes as either being named purple or violet or dioxazine purple. But the pigment is PV23. Okay? So I just want to talk about those three. If you have any questions along the way, pop Q in the chat and I'll answer the questions. Now, I brought in 4 other convenience colors, or what I call specialty colors. Daniel Smith. Now, Daniel Smith has a violet, absolutely beautiful. They have a lot of different purples. They have Amethyst Genuine and the Carbazole Violet. So this Carbazole Violet is very, very much the dioxazine violet, but they just call it Carbazole. So love that. This Amethyst Genuine from Daniel Smith is literally just the pigment is genuine amethyst. So this is one of those rare pigments. But what I really wanted to share about this is that this color is very, very close to being its best plum. If we added just a little bit of red to it, it could be a lot more plummy. And I'm going to show you that when we do a little bit of color mixing. Then I brought in these two. These two are from Da Vinci. They're fun colors, friends. This one's called Da Vinci Artemis. It has 3 different pigments in it, a viridian, an ultramarine, and an anthraquinone. I always get this anthraquinone red. I know I just said that wrong. A PR17. So 3 pigments, and it's got this wild granulation to it. Now, Daniel Smith has a version of this called Moon Glow. They're very much the same. I just love both of them. So this has an eggplanty kind of feel to it because of the ultramarine and the red that's in it. And then we throw in a little bit of that viridian green to granulate it and create a little bit of a bluey-like effect. So this one's a really fun color. Really, really fun color. And then we have this color from Da Vinci, which is Joyce's Mother Violet. And this was a collaboration they did with an artist. Her name is Joyce, and I've just blanked out on her last name, but it'll come to me. And she created this combination of colors, or she was creating this combination of colors in her paintings, so they decided to formulate it, and it's really pretty. PB33, PB15, and PV, I think that says 19. Quin Violet, yes. PV 19. Quinacridone Violet, Phthalo Blue, and Manganese Blue hue. So you can see the blues in here. You can see the violets granulating, and then you can see that Quin Violet, like right here, that Phthalo Blue and that mixture to get that purple. Okay, super geek out about these colors, but that's just a couple of the purples and violets that I've pulled. You will notice in watercolor, across any brand that you look at, that there's going to be different kinds of violets. There's always going to be one violet that is a one pigment, and it's the PV23, and it is the dioxazine purple, or they'll just call it purple. But if you don't have that in your palette, no worries, because you can mix it and you can make it. And that's the beautiful thing about violets and purples, is that you can mix that color up, and you can add a little bit, subtract a little bit, and get different values of that color. But some of these convenience colors, friends, some of these colors that have just all these juicy pigments in them, just make the watercolor experience so much more fun. So they're on my palette, and I picked them. Now, if you don't have these colors, please don't worry about that. I'm just showing them to you because it's part of what I said that I would do this year and share with you, and just kind of bring some exposure to some other colors that are out there. But I want to just keep coming back to the fact that with our Gina K inks, and our paper crafting projects and our stamp images, holy smokes, friends, there isn't much you can't mix with a good Gina K ink. Okay, I'm getting excited. I'm getting overexcited. Now let's talk about, is there such a thing as getting overexcited? I don't know. I don't think there is. We're 20 minutes in and I haven't done anything but talk. All right. Okay, friends, we're going to dive in. We're going to talk about, ooh, my face is in the way, mixing purples to plums, and just some variations of what I did here to try to get to that plum color. So when you mix, I'm doing some cool colors. So I have quinacridone red and phthalo blue. So let me pull, I'm going to pull the core watercolors here and kind of do that mix for you. Let's just move some stuff out. So cool red, cool blue. On your palette, it could be ultramarine blue. It could be permanent rose. It's really just that pinky red and whatever blue you have on your palette. Now, the brushes I'm using a number 6 today. For the most part, all of the supplies I'm using today are linked down below in the description on YouTube. If you're watching me over on Facebook, and there are many of you that are, hi Donna, good morning, afternoon. You will find, I will get them on there after the replay. Okay, I'm going to come in and just kind of show you this mix for purple. So here is, where's my red? Here's my quinacridone red right here. I'm using core. This is core watercolor. Let's just pop that right there. Let's see if I need to pop out just a smidge so that you can see. Okay, oops. Well, looky. Right out of the gate, we got a little bit of color. Okay, friends, also one other thing I need to mention is the paper that I'm using is the Strathmore Ready Cut Watercolor. It's the paper I always use. Here's my quinacridone red. And this is at what I call whole milk strength. Okay, so not a lot of water on my brush, not a lot, mostly pigment. And you can see as I add water, I can change the value of that color and go from that red to that nice pink. Now I'm going to add phthalo blue. I like to use phthalo blue when I'm making purples. And the reason why is phthalo blue is super intense. However, it's a little persnickety. It is a super intense color, and I think it's one of the most beautiful blues. But you can see how intense it is. And I could keep going for days here as I'm painting before it'll like start to run out. it's a staining. It's a very, very staining color. So it will stain my paper. But these two colors, I'm going to do a little mix of them right here. I'm going to start with my red. And the reason why I'm starting with my quinacridone red is because it's not as intense as blue, as the phthalo blue. So I've got a really nice puddle of it here. Not a lot of water, super intense, probably like a whole milk strength intensity there. I'm going to come in and just kind of dip my brush in that phthalo blue and stick it in the center and just start to mix it around. And I want to start to bring up that color very slowly. Okay, cleaning off my brush. Let me just grab my... Cleaning off my brush, grab a little bit more and drop that in. And then just kind of mix it all in. I think I'm starting to get that hue that I want of purple. Oh, I'm digging it. Okay, I'm going to come in right here and just kind of add it here. And that's a really, really beautiful purple. Really pretty. Little more on, not as quite as plummy, but almost there. Almost there. Sorry about that. Just got a text. But so now if I want to take that color and kind of get it, you can see here it was a little bit purple. I've gotten closer to that eggplanty value that I want to get, but I want to go a little further. So I'm going to add a little bit of alizarin crimson to it. Now alizarin crimson, I'm going to show you that color by itself. It's right here. It's more of a darker red. I'm going to add a little bit of a dark red to that. See, I'm going to change that value of that color again. I've got a little bit of alizarin crimson right here on my palette. You can see it right there. I love alizarin crimson. Oh, it's so pretty. All right, let's pop that in here. And now I'm starting to get it to be a little bit more. It's a little bit more. It's got a little more red in it, but you can see that this purple is a little more purpley. I'm starting to get a little more plummy. And I can go back and forth with this. So you can see from these two colors, I can go back and forth. If I want a little more blue, that's a whole lot of blue, but I can add a little bit more in there. And I can bring that color back to an even more purpley color. Ah! I love that. Isn't color mixing fun? I just absolutely love it. I could play with different color variations all day. Super funsies. Okay. So quinacridone red, phthalo blue gives me the purple. And then I can add a little bit of alizarin in there and I can start to change it. Add a little more blue back and start to change it back. Now, here's a really, really fun thing that you can do. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab, this is my Da Vinci palette, and I'm going to grab some Opus Pink. So Opus in Da Vinci, it's opera pink. So when you take and you add a little bit of opera pink to, I'm just going to draw a little circle here. Let's come back and just kind of start to change my color here. I'm going to get my purple going again. And I've got that mix. I keep turning my head a little bit because the lights are really bright today. It's a little cloudy here in Maryland. It's been super stinking hot for days. Pretty much just like everybody else on the planet, right? We've just been pretty hot. I've got this purple color happening. Now, if I come in with a little bit of opera pink, Opus is number 2. I had to see where it was on my palette. Here's a little bit of the opera pink. See how it's kind of very fluorescent-like? Just going to drop that in there. We can play around with that opera pink in our plum, and we're going to do that because plums have these pink values in them. They have these purple values, and they have these eggplanty kind of values in. So this is just a nice color to kind of add into that. Okay, so a little recap on mixing purples. Quinacridone red, phthalo blue. You can always use quinacridone magenta and ultramarine blue and get the same thing. I like to use phthalo blue. I feel like the phthalo blue is a lot more intense and I love it. So that's why I like to use it. Add a little, we get that purple. We get that beautiful violet that we are very familiar with. Add a little bit of alizarin, which is more of a red, a pinky red, to that color, and we can bring up that eggplant value right now. This looks a little rosier than I would think. Take a little bit of opera pink and drop it in, and we can add a little bit more to it. So, and get things a little more plummy. So here's my dioxazine purple. Add that little bit of alizarin crimson, and I can get that super, super plummy color. So if you just had dioxazine purple, I promise, friends, we're going to get to the card. We're going to do that next. If you just had dioxazine purple in your palette, right? That's this color right here, which is that beautiful, beautiful violet that we all know and love. And I just wanted to get myself closer to that plum color, and I had dioxazine purple on my palette. I would just add a little bit of that alizarin crimson to it to kind of bring that out. And there we go. Yeet! Love it. Okay. All right. Super fun. Super, super fun. Now let's dive in to our actual plum that we are going to paint. Our plum and our stamping and our funsies that we're going to do. Okay, I've got to find my other piece of watercolor paper. Looks like I already used it. Okay, nice. Okay, let's just dive in here. So here is the Sweeter With You peach, and I did this. I'm going to come in a little bit tighter here. Let's get it nice and tight with the Gina K inks, and my combination of Gina K inks that I used for this one was Plum Punch, Eggplant, and a little bit of Plum Punch to kind of achieve that look. Used fresh asparagus to achieve that look. Then we have this Da Vinci watercolor that I did using the Joyce's Mother Violet. Look at that. How fun. How fun is that? Different kind of plum. I would say like a super surreal looking kind of plum. More realistic, super surreal. We could definitely get ourselves to a more plummy with our watercolor by mixing these two colors together, and that would be good. But now we're going to move on and do this onto the card, and I am going to do it today. Last card video we showed it in 3 different ways. Today we're going to use Gina K inks because I want to show you how we can make that happen with the Gina K inks. Okay, so let's see. Here's my card base. I'm going to be using this pink, and I've got a little bit of sweet mango that's going to be our color for our background. Up against that purple, the orange is a complementary color, so it's going to kind of make those values of the eggplant pop even more. And now I need to find a piece of watercolor paper because I have used my paper. So that's okay. All right. Wow, I used all my paper. So let's just take my face off for a second and grab my paper. I used all my papers to show you examples. So let's dive in and find myself another piece sitting around. That's not what I want. All right, well, we got it right here. All right, friends. Holy smokies. Okay. All right, we're going to come in now and we're going to stamp out my plum, my peach. We're going to stamp out our peach, but make it a little plummy color. Or you know what? I'm going to just put it out to you guys in the chat for which version of this you would like to see. Would you like to see me stamp it? Would you like me to color it in the Gina K inks, or would you like me to color it up in watercolor? And we'll show the mixing. Now the techniques are going to be the same. We're just using different mediums. So if anybody has an opinion, let's just go ahead and pop it in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay. All right, everybody's pretty quiet. That's okay. We're going to get started with the Gina K inks. And I'm going to start with my lightest color first, the Plum Punch. And I'm just going to ink up my stamp. And we're going to just stamp this down here. Now, while it's still kind of wet on the paper, Gina K, I knew everybody would pop in with a little bit of Gina K. I'm going to just start to add a little bit of water to my edges here. So my brush is wet, my paper is dry, but the beautiful thing about the Gina K inks is that they will react to water the second you touch them. And I love that. Look at that. So Plum Punch is already proving itself to be an absolute beautiful color. That's Plum Punch. Here's a little bit of Eggplant. I don't have the Eggplant in a little cube. I thought I did. Oh, I thought I did, but I don't. Okay. Let's just go ahead and take a little bit of this Plum Punch, and what I'm doing is just kind of working this up. Have you ever noticed, pop in the chat if you've used Gina K inks for watercolor. And you've seen me use them a lot, so you might have been inspired to use them by something I've showed you, and that would be awesome. But I want you to notice that they're a little bit whooshy too. Now, Gina K inks have something in them that is like a smoothing agent. So I would kind of equate that a little bit to a binder in watercolor. So I'm just going in and dropping some additional color around that little peach butt area and letting it be. Now my brush is wet, the paper is dry. I'm doing wet into dry. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that Eggplant and just kind of drop a little bit right along that edge of the plum / peach. Drop a little bit along the edge there, just to kind of deepen and darken that color. Ah, Kathy said yes, she's used them because of me. That's very sweet. I'm glad you've been inspired to use them. Okay, I'm kind of taking a little bit of an approach here where I'm got not as much color here, focusing a lot of color right here, picking up a little bit more of that Eggplant, dropping it in just so that we have some different values of darks and lights. And you see how that shape is starting to happen, that little peach butt. We've got that little curve happening, and then we know that we've got the curve, and then we have something behind it, which gives us that volume. And you're able to do that with just layering colors on top. Jay Burris just said, didn't know that you could use the inks to add watercolor. Now you know! Welcome. I'm excited. So I'm just pulling with a clean brush. You see, I'm just kind of running my clean brush over this edge just to kind of fully separate the dimension between that curve in the fruit and the piece of fruit behind it. And I'm going to leave all these other whites and this stuff happening here just as is. I'm going to take a little bit of the Plum Punch, and I'm just going to drop, oh, I did a little too much, drop a little bit up there. Now, the main technique I'm doing here is wet into dry. My brush is wet, the paper is dry. Of course, there are areas where it is wet, and I'm just going to go in, I'm just going to continue to add just a little bit more along that edge. Ah, let it dry. I am loving this. Now, we definitely have the shape. We definitely have some volume happening. We've got a little bit of this color right here that I kind of want it to blend a little bit more, but I'm really okay with the shape because I am going to hand cut these out. You could run them through the die cutter and use the coordinating die set with this, easy. But with the dies, sometimes I like to hand cut things because with the dies, you end up with a little bit of an edge. So even if I would cut this out with a die and I really want it to be very close cut, I would cut it out with the die and then I would kind of go around and cut that little bit of an edge off. Okay, now I want to kind of add a little bit of subtlety in here. Let's just, before I get this all over the place, let's just pull that color off so we can bring this up. I want to add a little bit of something in here. So I am going to go to this medium lilac and practice a little bit. Just grab a little bit of that color. Brush is wet. This area is a little bit wet right here. So brush is wet, paper is wet. I'm going to do the wet into wet technique. I'm going to lift up some of this medium lilac and I'm just going to drop it in and see how I feel about it. Now, kind of like it, kind of feel like I'm starting to skew more towards this kind of a look. A little bit more hyper realistic, kind of hyper realistic. I'm going to leave that. Now, with any kind of watercolor, same thing with inks. When this dries, it shifts back a little bit and we get a little bit more opportunity to add to it. And I feel like I'm starting to lose a little bit of something here. So what I want to do is dry it. We're going to dry it. We're going to add to it. Then we're going to move on to the greenery. So you can see that even with the inks and the color that I've built up, it's faded back a little bit, especially in this area. Now, I didn't think I was going to like that lilac mixing with that plum punch, but I'm digging it. I'm loving it. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to come in with a little bit of eggplant and kind of mess around with these colors. Again, so if you're coming in a little bit later, these are the colors I'm playing with for the Gina K inks that give us that plummy kind of feel. Brush is wet, paper is dry, so we're doing wet into dry. And I really just kind of want to hug that curve a little bit more. Clean off my brush. Come in and just kind of tap, 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 and blend. Tap, 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 and blend a little bit of color. The beautiful thing about working with your Gina K inks to do watercolor techniques is that they're fantastic to work with. They're beautiful. Look at that color. It's so deep, it's rich. It's stunning. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Now I'm just kind of dancing my brush around and adding a little bit more color. Now, I'm going to resist the urge. I'm kind of covering up a little bit of the whites that I did, just with a little bit of a layer. And I'm going to resist the urge to mess with this even more. Just kind of want to leave it. I think I kind of want to leave it. I kind of want to play with it a little bit too. And I think I kind of want to drop a little bit more of this color right here and see what happens. Okay, leave it, Lisa. We're moving on. Okay, I'm kind of digging the way that looks. I kind of feel like maybe I should have left a little bit of whites in here. Now the inks will stain once they dry, so see how they don't really lift. I can't really lift the paper back up to white, but that's okay. We definitely have got that plummy look. Definitely have that plummy look that I wanted to achieve. Okay, now I'm going to come in with the stamp. We're going to do the leafery stamp the greenery piece, this piece right here. And I'm going to use some fresh asparagus. Yep, fresh asparagus. And I'm actually just going to stamp it right on here and make the whole plummy kind of happen. Now you could do these two pieces separate and then you could die cut them with the die cuts, but I'm not doing that. I'm going to clean off my brush and I'm going to use the color that's here, that fresh asparagus, just kind of fill it in, take advantage of the watercolor paper and just use it. Use this color. I am going to leave some of this bit of leafery white so that we get some contrast between this dark leaf and this white leaf. Okay. Neat! I love it. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside to just kind of manually dry for a moment. Here's our little colors. Just kind of digging that. Love, love, love. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my card base, my card back. My base is here, my card layer. Kind of got a little schmutz on it, but that's okay. We're going to end up covering it up. Remember, the inspiration for our card today is this little strawberry. So with that same shape, I created a strawberry to kind of make this look. Now I'm going to do this little blossom background, and we're going to do them in the sweet mango. And that mango, that orange color with that plum color is going to be a nice little complementary contrast. It's going to be super fun. So let's go ahead. We're going to do that all over the background here. And I'm going to do big and littles. So we've got the two blooms going. We're going to stamp them out. How's everybody's summer going? It's been hot. I think most of everyone will say it's been hot, right? Just hot. So that's okay. We're all adjusting to this heat. It has been hot and it's been tough in the garden, friends. I'm going to take this big blossom and I'm just doing a random pattern of 3. Then we're going to come in with a brush and just kind of wash out some of that color. This is just going to be a quick wash. Love that. Just a smidge of a wash of color. Now I'm going to come in and do the same thing with that pattern background. I mean with the bloomies. Except I'm going to use one of the lilacs. So I'm going to use that medium lilac that I used in the Plummy. Oh, so cute. In that plum, so that we can draw some of that color out. So this orange, the sweet mango, is a really nice complementary contrasting color. Now let's do some lilac. Just to kind of boop, boop, just add a little bit of blooms in. Let's see, if I know I want that to be there, let's pop one right in here. I'm going to leave some room down there. Let's pop one right there. See how random that was? Just kind of creating a little bit of a random pattern. Clean off my brush a little bit and just add a little bit of water to that center. And I'm just dancing my brush around and just activating that color and letting it do its thing. Okay. Now, I want to bring this on to, I'm not so sure that this, I'm not 100% sure I like this innocent pink base, but I think I'm going to like it when I'm finished. So when I'm thinking about these card designs, I kind of like have ideas in my head. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't work out, but it's always based on conceptually off of something I think will work, right? Oh my goodness, my glue is jammed again. Okay, gotta grab a glue. I cleaned up my glue before we started. So let me grab another glue and then put this card base together. I'm not really good with cleaning up my stuff when I'm finished. Like I clean up things, I put them away, but a lot of times I don't clean things off really well. So my glue kind of gets kludgy. And I need to like start putting a pin in the center of those glue things to kind of keep that channel clear. Okay, I'm going to pop this on here. Just kind of eyeball this. I use Master Layouts die. Die number 11, 5, Master Layouts 6. Master Layouts. I use that one. Now I'm going to come in and find my scissors. Now I could die cut these pieces out for my plum, but I really want to get a nice edge. So I am going to fussy cut this. Let me know if in the chat if you are anti-fussy cut or you're a fussy cut funsy person. I like to do both. I like to die cut. And friends, my Gina K order from the release just came. I ordered that plate that holds the dies, the metallic plate. I'm so excited. I haven't even opened the box yet, but I'm so excited to kind of get it out. Now I'm going to follow around this plum and I'm going to go around the edges. So remember when I said I was a little bit concerned about my edges being so stark? I'm not so concerned about them now because I am going in and cutting them out. Just kind of going in. Now, this stamp set, Sweeter With You, with Gina K. In the last live, if you were with me on the last live, I talked about how I wasn't so sure about the stamp set when I created it. Or I was when I created it, but then I wasn't sure and I wanted to tell Gina to not produce it and pull it. And I'm so glad I didn't because I really think it has lots of possibilities with the big open line imagery for you to practice and create some really fun fruits, really fun fruit projects. So I'm kind of digging this one. I am digging this whole plum look and feel. Rhonda says, she says, I fussy cut when I don't have the dies. I do too. There are some, actually I think all of my stamps in my Gina K collection now have dies, but in the beginning they didn't all have dies, right? So sometimes I would provide the digital versions for you, but sometimes they didn't have dies. So, yep, I got a little bit of something on there. Let's go ahead and continue to cut this out. I am loving the vibrancy of those colors. Oh my goodness, look at that little plum. That little plum butt. So I've got that. I kind of want this to be down here a little bit further down here, so that ends up covering that up. But that's okay. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling like I really, really like that. Oh, and see that there's different values of that pink that are coming out from the plum punch separating in color. So I wanted to show that to you here. Do you see the plum punch? Actually, that's eggplant and this is the plum punch. Do you see the colors separating? And you get a little bit of the blue. So you get to see like what makes up those dyes. So super fun. Love it. So these Gina K inks work very much, you know, kind of like some of our watercolors do. You know, we've got a little bit of colors, many colors to make up many different dyes to come together to make up that formulation of that color. Oops. Love that. All right, we're going to bring this down here. I kind of just want that to nest right there. All right, I'm loving this. I don't know that I left myself enough room for my sentiment, but we'll see. We'll see. I have the Sweeter With You sentiment. Oh, that's tight. So I don't think all of my sentiments are going to fit. But I'm really, really digging the sentiments in the newest release that have that die that you can pop over it. Oh, I love it. So this could be really cute sentiment for us to use. And I think I'm going to use Love and Hugs. I don't know. Birthday wishes, thinking of you. I miss you. So very sorry. Get well soon. This would be a cute get well card. I'm going to do Love and Hugs. Now, I already actually have Love and Hugs already stamped out. And now I think about it because I've already stamped this out already. So let me grab that. That is in... When I stamped out these before, I think I have Love and Hugs. There it is. And I already kind of pre-cut them out. So I kind of like that. I just kind of have them left over in this little case, little drawer divider. So we could pop Love and Hugs here. I think I might just pop it right on here. And I want to add a little something at the top, but I think we're doing pretty good on time. So let's just pop it on. I'm going to have a little bit of glue. Just a smidge on the back. Okay, friends. Okay. I kind of want to see how I feel about the sentiments. A lot of times I like to make cards without sentiments. And you kind of maybe pop one in the front. I'm going to see how I feel about that. I think I'm just going to pop it down here and make it its own little entity instead of trying to make it connect to something. I love that. We're going to let that be. Now, I want to add a little something to this background. Look at the level of intensity of color here. Kind of digging the way this plum looks. Love the wild lilac, not the wild lilac, the medium lilac, kind of drawing our eye. We've got that complementary color happening with the mango. But what I feel like I need is a little something subtle in the background. I'm going to grab a little bit of this lovely lavender. Lovely lavender is very, very pale. Let me show you. See how pale it is? Very pretty though. Very, very pale. So if I end up putting this down and I don't like it, and I think it's going to be a mistake, then it won't show up that much. And I'm just tapping a little bit of it on here to kind of see. I just want to add it needs a little something. And I think that's going to do it. Now let me dry it. Let me dry it and see how I feel about it. Little raindroppy. Now I'm starting to dig it a little bit more. I was a little unsure. Look at that plum. It's super juicy, super juicy. All right, I'm going to come in with some of my sequins, my Gina K sequins. These are the, not disco ball, I've said that before. These are the clear quartz. And I think what I'm going to do is just pick this one, and this one to pop in. Let's see. So friends, we have another tutorial I'm going to do coming up next week. And you all have shared many different ideas with me. So I'm going to explore a little bit. I think I need to pop one right there. Explore a few ideas over the next couple days. This Plummy was kind of super fun to share. Let me know in the chat if you feel like you got a lot out of today's little color mixing lab, little nerd out that I had. And also I think next week we're going to be back to to like a regular morning time, but I'm not sure. So kind of let me know how you're feeling about afternoon times versus lunch times. I always feel like lunchtime is a good time to do tutorials because people are taking like a natural break. I feel like anything later than 2:30, you might be getting sleepy. I know I do sometimes, 2:30 in the afternoon. But, all right, I'm really digging the way this card looks. Let's bring in our original inspiration. So here was the original inspiration. So I basically did just copy the exact same design style, but did a little something different. We focused on creating that plum, that juicy plum look out of the stamp set. Sweeter with You. This is a peach, but could be a plum, could be a peach, could be an apple, could be whatever you want it to be by changing the colors. And I love what I did here by making it a strawberry. So wouldn't it be fun to do like a peach, a strawberry, and a plum like kind of all together on a card? That would be really a ton of fun. I think if I would change anything on this, I would have left room for this larger sentiment, because this larger sentiment kind of helps weigh the bottom of the card down a little bit. So that's just me nerding out, totally nerding out. Okay, quick review of the Gina K colors that make up that plummy, kind of juicy plummy feel. Eggplant and Plum Punch. Plum Punch, obviously, right? Eggplant has more of that those deeper values that you'll see in a plum. Plum Punch is really going to bring out a little bit more of those reds that you'll see in a plum. Lovely Lavender, Dark Lilac, and Medium Lilac are just going to bring in some more of the bluey, like bluey and pink and bluish pink values that you would see in the plum. Okay. Wow. We kind of made it. We kind of made it in an hour too, which I didn't think we would, because I never know if I'm going to nerd out, like super nerd out, or not make it, you know? Okay, friends, thanks so much for joining me today. I will be back next week with a new tutorial, and we're going to do another card tutorial. I've got a couple things in my brain. If you're on my email list, you'll definitely get that email with the link in your inbox. So perfect. If you're not on my email list, I would love to have you join me. All of that information is down below in the description. I also have a free community in my classroom at craftyourjoy.com. I'd love it if you joined us over there. It's free to you. There's lots of information and freebies that I post there that I don't post out in social media. It's just free to my community. And while you're over there, you can take a peek at all of the watercolor and paper crafting classes that I offer. So, yeah, Donna's sharing. Everyone have a fun and wonderful weekend. And thanks so much for joining me. I'm so grateful. So grateful. And thumbs up, subscribe, all those wonderful things that are super helpful for YouTube. And let me know if you're in the chat now or watching this on the replay, if you got a lot of value out of today's lesson. All right, friends, I will see you next week. I'm sending you into the weekend to craft your joy. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much, friends. Bye now.